Okay, we're now learning in Torah about Purim, the holiday of Purim. And the holiday of Purim, more than any other holiday, reflects the what we have to do in order to bring Mashiach. So according to Judaism, there's this force in the world called Amalek, and this force in the world wants to destroy Judaism, and it's very powerful, and God made it that way. And basically what it is the world itself. The very existence of the world seems to scream out that there is no God. Look in the microscopes, look in the telescopes, look into your mind, look into your thoughts. You can't postulate what God could be, that there's a creator. Maybe you can say that there was a long time ago, some sort of a force that, but to say that God is creating everything right now, and that God is creating everything for a purpose, and God cares about every detail, and that every detail is supposed to go according to what's right and avoid what's wrong, and that's what who says what's right and wrong? The Torah. And if you look in the Torah, you say, well, it's okay, that's all right, I can accept that, but you look in the Torah, it says all sorts of things that are totally against human nature. Like human nature is just and that's what the world wants, human nature. It's like today, it's like pretty much acceptable in the world, this thing of LGBT, Q, whatever, maybe take one or two of the letters out, but all those letters that are there are totally according to human nature. Some people have nature like that. They like to do those things. And some people are murderers, or some people are thieves. Some people like it. They like to do it. And here the Torah tells you can't do it. You can't do it. So what's the lesson? The main is defiance. Defiance. Or maybe a little bit deeper, responsibility. We're responsible to God. Responsible to God. And Amalek says, I'm not responsible to anybody. I do what I want. I just say I want it all and I want it now. Whatever benefits me, that's what I want. Me. That's Amalek. I'm here because I'm here. What is it? I am what I am, and that's all what I am. That used to be in Popeye cartoons I remember from a little kid. I am what I am. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I am what I am, and that's all what I am. Right? That's all I am is what I see as that's Amalek. The most natural, seemingly healthy, pervasive feeling in the world is that I exist. Everybody feels that they exist. Says the Rebbe, essentially that's a good thing because God creates us. But if we take that at face value, then that becomes Amalek and it becomes the enemy of God. In other words, all there is just me. That's what it says. So it says Haman in the Torah. Where do we see that Haman is even mentioned in the 5 books of Moses? Where do we see this? This idea of defying your nature, not allowing the world to have a negative effect on you. Like that's where all the aggression in the world and the depression, people get depressed because the world doesn't, addictions and confusion, because the world has an effect on me. And I'm thinking about, the main thing is me, and I'm all alone, me. So comes along, and that was what was going on in Purim. What happened in Purim? There was a king, Achashverosh, ruled the whole world. He was the world. And there was one person, Mordechai, a Yehudi, that refused to bow down to him. Haman, if he refused to bow, Haman was his man. Haman de facto ruled over the whole world. And everybody agreed with Haman. Haman was a good guy. And Haman said, now let's murder the Jews, which that's no big loss. I mean, there's only, whatever it is, 0.5% of the world or something like that is Jews. So, no big deal. And if Haman says that he's the ruler of the whole world, so he must know what he's talking about. I mean, he's, and everybody agreed with him, except for one person, Mordechai. One person disagreed with him. And that's Mordechai. Even the Jews agreed. The Jews participated in the meal of Achashverosh. They wanted to be like everybody else. The Jews, they agreed that there wasn't going to be any more. Achashverosh's meal was because, according to his calculations, the Jews, the 70 years which was predicted, prophesied by in Jeremiah, it had ended, and the Jews, that's it. The Jews, the Jewish people were finished. There's not going to be any second temple, and there's not going to be any continuation of the Jewish people. And now Achashverosh is the ruler, right? That's what Haman thought. And the Jews, unfortunately, agreed with him until came along Mordechai. And Mordechai, he inspired all the Jews to be Jewish. Be yourself. Be who you really are. Says the Rebbe, that's what's going to bring Mashiach. When all the Jews defy all the forces in the world that are trying to destroy Judaism, they're trying to transform Judaism, they're trying to ignore Judaism, reform movement, the conservative movement, the church, the Islam, all these movements in the world, atheism and pantheism and distheism and communism, and all the forces in the world, the whole world disagrees. The whole world says we have to, and the one person, Rebbe Milubavitch, says we can't bow down in any way to anything which is in the world. Nothing in the world. If the world wants to benefit us, that's okay on their own, but it has to be on our terms, not on their terms. Not in any way. And that's Mordechai. Mordechai refused to it. So it says Haman from the Torah, where did it come from? It says Hamin ha'etz, from the tree. I told you not to eat. Did you eat? Adam ate from the tree because he went according to his nature. And then God gave him that nature. But God gave him that nature to defy it. To transform it. to make the right decisions, even though it happens to be against what the whole world says. It says that's because the whole thing, because Mordechai made the proper choice and convinced the Jewish people to make the proper choice, that turned around the improper choice that Adam made when he ate from the tree. And therefore, Haman, who is the big enemy, the destroyer of the Jewish people, he gave the garment and the horse to the Jewish people. The garment is the Torah and the commandments, basically, and the horse is God's blessing. That was explained previously. Because God wants there to be egotism in the world. He wants there to be individuality. He wants it, but he wants it to be used according to his, the manufacturer's instructions. Because the whole thing depends on Mordechai. Mordechai is Mordechai versus Haman. Haman had all the power. He had all the blessings. He had everything. He was on the top. The idea was that in Haman depends the giving of the garments and the giving of the blessing to Mordechai. Who told him to do it? Achashverosh. Achashverosh is in the Megillah. You know, in the Megillah is the only book in the Torah that doesn't have God's name in it. The only book in the Torah. Every other book in the Torah has God's name in it, at least in a hint, in a way, something, right? And God's even Song of Songs. The only book in the Torah that does not have God's name is the Megillah. So one reason is because it's hidden. Another reason is because it's so high. The revelations in the Megillah are so high that it's above any name of God. It's something like, remember we learned last week about why Moses' name is not mentioned in last week's Torah portion. This is because that's the essence of Moses. It's above name. It's before any names. The same thing as Mashiach. It's going to be revealed the essence of God, even higher than any names. It says that depends on, to get this blessing, which was in the hands of Haman. Haman was on the top. And because of Mordechai's self-sacrifice, eteruta delatata, the arousal from below, as that's what's called gasot de kedusha, defiance of holiness. I mean, I'll tell you. So, okay, let's see. Therefore, because of that, Haman, he took the garments and the horse and he gave it to Mordechai. I'll tell you a short story about the Rebbe. Maybe this illustrates this. The Lubavitcher Rebbe every day would go to see his mother. His mother passed away, and I think, 1967? I have to look it up. Something like that. His mother passed away. He brought his mother from Russia. She got a permit to go from Russia, and he picked her up in France, and he brought her to America. He brought his mother to America. And he used to visit his mother every day. He used to walk, and he used to take the same path. And when the Rebbe would go and visit his mother, so the store owners, Jewish store owners of Chabad, a lot of them also weren't Chabad in those days. And they would stand in the opening of their door, and they would just see the Rebbe go by, and they would say hello, and the Rebbe would say hello to them. When the Rebbe came to the, he would nod and say hello. And there was a policeman that used to stand on the corner, a black fellow, and the Rebbe used to wave to him and say, hello, good morning. Good morning. And he would say, how is the rabbi today? Say, thank God. He would give him a blessing, whatever, and he would continue. This happened every single day. Anyway, so one of the store owners was sort of very interesting because when the Rebbe would go by him, he would just sort of nod his head. Well, when he came to this policeman that was standing on the corner, he would sometimes engage in him, in a short conversation, exchange, pleasantries or whatever. So he asked the Rebbe, the Rebbe would raise his hand. So one day I don't remember what the opportunity was. I didn't hear the whole story, but he asked the Rebbe, why is it that to me, the Rebbe just sort of, nods his head. He bends that into the non-Jew that's standing in the corner. The Rebbe raises his hand, says hello. He said, because my father taught me, I think my father taught me, and because my father taught me never to bend my head to a non-Jew. Never to bend my head. In other words, to to say hello, to shake hands, to be friendly, to hug, whatever you want. Signs of friendship, yes, but any sign of submission, even slight submission, in no way. Not to be friendliness, love, help, brotherhood, everything, yes, but submission not. Not submission. Not. That's the spirit that the Rebbe is talking about over. That's the spirit he's talking about. To submit to the world, that the world will control us, that the world will make it that we don't keep Shabbat, that the world will make it that we don't preserve family purity, that the world will make it that we cheat, we lie, that the world will make it that we get depressed, that we get angry, right? No way. I'm not going to submit myself to any of the forces in the world. The world is not going to make me feel bad. And maybe I'll tell you a story afterwards about Shema the Geller. I think maybe I'll tell you two stories about it. Okay, well, let's go. Because and all this was understood. What the Zohar says, the Kaddish Kafia Sitra Achra Stalak Yakoda the Kodesh Baruch. We did this yesterday. It's worth doing it every day. Just these few lines. God reacts to what we do. That's the whole theme of the Torah. The whole theme of the Torah is God reacts to what we do. This world is very infinitely important to God. We have no idea. And Mashiach will be the raising of the dead. We'll get a glimpse of how much God cares about this physical world. That's the whole story of the Bible. God created the world, put man in it. When we do something in the world, God reacts. Maybe it doesn't react the way we want. Maybe it doesn't react when we want. It's like the saying, God always gives us what we need, not what we want. But it says, when we control our selfishness in this world, there is spread out the glory of God in all of the worlds, all of the upper worlds. What does it mean? That by means of that, we take the egotism of klippa, of selfishness, egotism, the false egotism of selfishness, and we transform this to be selfishness for godliness. Let's say that instead of egotism, Judaism. This is Katia Sitra Achra. This is what controls what's called the other side, Mipnei Geus HaKadusha, and then there will be revealed the highness of holiness, the ability to defy the whole entire world. Instead of defying God, you defy the world. Like it said, like it says, La'ati Lobo, in the future. In the days of the Mashiach, it says, Bo b'maros tzurim. It says the people, I think it's a prophecy in Isaiah. I looked it up, I couldn't find. Bo b'maros tzurim mipnei pachad Hashem. That it says that the whole world will go into the clefts of rocks because of the fear of God. The Hadar Gaono and his great glory. Right? It's like a person steals and all of a sudden they turn on the lights in the room. Right? Wow. Right? The police reveal him. He's revealed. Then is they spread out the glory of God. Estalik, what does it mean? Estalik usually means it goes away. The glory of God goes away. It says no, that estalik doesn't mean here going away. It means that it's the revelation of what God is will be so great. It's as though the whole entire world was elevated, goes away. That there is revealed this highness of God in God's essence. A person will not desire the God does not desire to give anything to any sort of a flow to people like Haman. Means why? That's what it means that God's presence goes away. What does it mean it goes away? It goes away from all bad things. Mitzad bechinas Yuridas Oro, because of the revelation of God's great light in this world. That the light of God spreads out until ein shiur, without any limit. But because this comes from such a high source, so afterwards it comes very, very exact because God himself is doing it. Something like when the Jews left Egypt. So it says at the same time, God smote the evil people and he saved the Jewish people. At the same time, Maka Mitzrayim, God smote the firstborn and he saved the Jewish people, the Jewish firstborn. How could that be? Because in God's essence, he cares about the Jews. In God's essence, he cares about the Torah and the commandments. Up to now, things have been pretty wild. A person can do whatever he wants to and succeed, like Haman did. But as soon as the Jews start doing what God wants, and it doesn't even have to be all the Jews, it could even be just one Jew. In the case of Purim, there was all of the Jews decide they all were, how do you say, they all were inspired by Mordechai to be a Jew, every person on his own. I mean, because if you think about it, what was the decree was to kill all the Jews. So if a Jew wanted to come take his family, aside in his basement or something, and says, listen, we're going to say we're not Jews. And his son says, but Daddy, the next door neighbor, the Greenbergs, they don't deny their Judaism. And the Saban family on the other side, they don't deny their Judaism. He says, yeah, but we're going to deny. Somebody has to be left. We have to carry the flag of Judaism. Okay, that's what I'm saying. You got to do it. Nobody did it. No one did it, just privately. Mordechai didn't know what everyone was doing. There were no surveillance cameras. Everyone on their own decided, I am in no way going to deny my Judaism. Either going to kill me. I'm not thinking about that. I'm not letting that thought into my mind. One thing I know for sure, denying my Judaism, I'm not going to do. What the repercussions are, that's up to God. My control is right now. Right now, I am not denying my Judaism. Why not? Because Mordechai is a Jew. I'm less of a Jew than Mordechai. I'm not going to do it. That's the idea of Mashiach. All this should go on the cause that the glory of God will be spread all over the world in the time of exile and of Achashverosh. Hayaraka is because of Klolos Yisrael, all the Jewish people, they were in Mesirut Nefesh. They sacrificed all of their plans, all of their desires, all of their will, everything. It's Mesirut Nefesh. It's called giving away your soul. Shalamaylam Yatam Badat, which is totally above any sort of logic or intelligence whatsoever. Keniz Galeel. This became what's called Or Choser Lamaila. This is called a reflecting light from above. The Orer Atzmut, and aroused the essence of God. Hapashut, which is the essence, simple essence of God before the world was created. This is the reason why the world was created. The reason why God created Haman and why he created the whole world with all these tribulations and difficulties and concealment. The whole reason he created it was so the Jews should defy it and transform it and ignore it. Shalamayla mikol ishtalshlus, above all of the worlds. Shafilu b'shas matan Torah, even at the time of the giving of the Torah. Loya megia at the ruta l'sham. Even at the time of the Torah, what the Jews did not reach to this essence level that it reached on Purim. And that's what it says, a very interesting thing. when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, so all the Jewish people were all Jewish, and they all were inspired. And they said, we will do whatever you say, God. And we knew we are the chosen people, and we are the sons of God, and we are the servants of God, and we are the wife of God, and we are the brother of God. Remember, we learned it says, Achli, tia Achli. We're the brothers of, and 40 days later, they worshiped the golden calf. Why? Because they didn't have any fortitude inside. Nothing came from themselves. Therefore, the level of godliness which was revealed at Mount Sinai was not as deep. It didn't inspire in the Jews any sort of a work on their part, of defiance on their part to defy the world. As soon as there was the golden calf, they went for it. Therefore, it says a very interesting thing. At the end of the Megillah, it says, Kimu v'kiblu aYehudim, that the Jewish people fulfilled and they accepted that which they began to do. What do you mean they began to do? That which they began to do at Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai was like about 1,000 years before the miracle of Purim. About 1,000 years before the miracle of Purim. I think a little bit less than 1,000 years. But 1,000 years before the miracle of Purim, the Jewish people got out of Egypt and they received the Torah. 1,000 years, it says the Jewish people, they had the first temple, they did the sacrifices, all the Jews were together in the land of Israel. It was the ideal place, right? It says wrong, it wasn't. Why? Because the Jewish people, they themselves, inside of themselves, did not have the power to individually serve God with all of their being. They didn't get the point of the Torah. The point of the Torah was not to receive. The point of the Torah was to inspire them to give everything they had to the Creator, like Abraham. Therefore, it says that on Purim, the Jewish people, only then did they accept, did they fulfill and accept what they began to do at Mount Sinai. The Matan Torah, so the Matan Torah, in the beginning of the Torah, they only began. In the days of Achashverosh, they finished. The reason was, in the days of Esther, Hagam Shoya Bechinas Hester, even though the word Esther, that's her name, Esther, right? Hester means concealment. Even though that God was concealed, like it says, Anochi Hastir Astir Panai. It's a sentence in Deuteronomy. I will conceal my face. God said, in the time of exile, I will conceal my face from you. Right? You get all these missionaries and all the things. God has left you. Look at, they bring all these sentences from Isaiah that God has left you and God is mad at you and God has abandoned you and God is this and this, right? And these guys, they have like, $50 trillion in big churches and they're all over the world. And the Jewish people are just sort of suffering, the Jews themselves are all arguing with each other. And there's the reform movement saying we have to agree with LGBT, whatever they have, right? And the Jewish people are all confused. And here the church and all of our enemies are really, really big. And they bring sentences from the Bible to prove it. That's what it means. Hastir. God is hidden, concealed. That's the big thing, the good thing about Kam Bechinas Ha'oros Panim. But that's the good thing about Purim. Why? Because even when there was Mount Sinai, and God was revealed, Lefi, because Shehester upon him, because this concealment, Estalik La'ela La'ela. Because when God's face is concealed, it means that God is still connecting the world, but it's from a tremendously high place that God wants us to reveal. The Nimshach is drawn down, this level, in the time of exile, God's revelation, in a way, is coming from even a higher place. Like it says, like we said before. In other words, now it's the revelation of God is not accessible, but the essence of God is. The ability for Jews to devote themselves, to surrender themselves, how do you say, to defy the whole world, now is greater than it was in Mount Sinai. At Mount Sinai, we got revelations of God, but now in the time of exile, we're getting the essence of God. It's just concealed. It's tremendously concealed. And the only way that can be revealed is, that's the lesson of the Megillah, by self-sacrifice, by defiance, by ignoring the whole entire world, everything the world says, all the threats that the world gives with the corona and whatever this, and not like the Baal Shem Tov's father said, don't be afraid. Only one thing I'm leaving. Don't be afraid of anything except for God. Oh, this is not so easy. Try it. You'll see it's not so easy. Not so easy. It says, Mitam Zeh, because of this, there's something greater than Purim, which is not even a Yom HaKippurim. Yom HaKippurim is Yom HaKippurim. It is just Ki Purim. It's just like Purim. Why? Because on Yom Kippurim there was revelations of God. Yom Kippurim was essentially a holiday of the Holy Temple. The high priest went into the Holy of Holies. There was a revelation from the essence of whatever God, but it wasn't really God's essence. It wasn't really God. On Yom Kippurim, it says Yom. Therefore, it says on Yom Kippurim, Ha'ila lo yavru. It says that right in the end of the Megillah, it says that the holiday of Purim will never be negated. The Pishachin is Hester Panim, this concealment that was, and it came because of self-sacrifice below, Gedolahi is greater, Gam, even from this level of God's shining face on Yom Kippur. What, by the way, happened on Yom Kippur? The Jewish people got the second tablets. God forgave the Jews for the sin of the golden calf, and he gave the second tablets. Moses came down with the second tablets. It was Yom Kippur. That's what he came down. That's true. Amazing revelation. It says, yeah, but still the Jewish people did not really fulfill what it said in the Torah until 1,000 years later on Purim. Because what does it say in the Torah? You have to love God with all of your heart and with all of your soul and with all of your might. And this thing about loving God with all of your might means self-sacrifice. And the Jews read it. They read it in the Bible. There it is in the Bible. And God gave them the ability when he gave the Bible, when he gave the Torah, he gave them the ability to do it, but they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And there were always ups and downs. And just read the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms, that King David is the Messiah. It says, Rambam says that King David is the first Mashiach. We're waiting for the second coming. The second coming is going to be Mashiach ben David. It says, read the Psalms sometime. Read it in English. All King David had was troubles. Troubles from the second he was born until the minute that he died. Troubles and enemies and problems and revolutions and how do you say, perfidy and traitors, and his own son went against him, his own children, and the Absalom tried to, what is it, the Abimelech, they're all trying to get the King David, everybody he couldn't trust anybody, was King David, all sorts of troubles. And that's because when the time of Mount Sinai, the Jews didn't really get the picture. They didn't really get to defy the world. They couldn't do it. King David represented the Torah. And the Jewish people always found, they did the Torah, but they always found some sort of a way to stick their own egotistical feelings in it. Lokach, therefore, alone is Karshem Hashem. Therefore, the name of God is not mentioned in the whole Megillah, because it's above any revelation. It's above any names. It's the essence of God. The only time what is mentioned there is Hamelech. Every time it says Hamelech, sometimes some say when it says Achashverosh is referring to God, but when it says Hamelech, by Hamelech, Yosha, Shar Hamelech, when it says Hamelech, it's referring to God. Shamor, this indicates on the essence of God. The simple essence of God, that's what's revealed in Purim, and that's the simple essence of what a Jew really is. Like it says, Ant Mamalik Kol Shemahan. So that's like why the Rebbe said, so many times there's only one Judaism. There's not Reform and Conservative. That's not Judaism. Why not? Because they give into the world. It's part of their platform to give into the world, opposing to what the Torah says. And so you make a trick. You explain the Torah doesn't really mean this. It's old-fashioned. We have to live with the times. We have to develop. We have to, what is it? What do they call it? Something like that. Evolve. The Torah evolves. We have to, right? Essentially, what it's saying is that I want to be the boss. I want to be God. I'm created in God's image, right? So I'm God. Says the Rebbe, but who created you in God's image? That's the point. Who created you in God's image, right? God did. That's the essence of God. We have to use this image of God that we have in order to serve the real essence of God, not to use the image of God to go against what God says, right? In the Torah, God said, It's a very, I mean, it's in our generation, it's possibly clearer than any ever generation that's ever been before, right? The people who are against the Torah, they know what it says in the Torah, and they clearly go against what it says in the Torah. Why? Because that's what it says in my heart. That's what I want to do. That's what makes me feel good. It says that's the essence of God. Like it says, and you, God, fill all these different names of God. Therefore, in the Megillah, it's talking about the essence of God, above any names, total self-sacrifice, defiance of the whole entire creation for the sake of the Creator. Nothing in the world is going to affect me. Listen, it's very easy to say these things, you understand? But you get mad and you get things, all of a sudden things pop up and you get depressed and you get it. But a person that really feels the essence of God is he feels constant responsibility, and he feels also constant encouragement from the Creator to do what it says in the Torah. You have the power to do it from the essence. Who would dream that the Jews have the power to defy the whole entire world? The whole entire world. Nowadays, maybe it's easier than ever. You have the whole United Nations is going against Israel, and it's just so obvious that they're wrong. It's just so obvious that they're backing murderers, rapists, the people that are proud to be murderers and rapists. And what do they say? No, they're freedom fighters. And in Israel also the same thing. It just becomes so obvious the how do you say, the folly of going against what it says in the Torah. Is becoming obvious. But in order to do this, you have to defy the whole world. Like it says, and mamale kol shaman, you, God, the essence of God, fill all these names. That's the essence of the Creator. He's creating me and you. He's creating the whole world. While we oppose him. And he's giving us this ability to oppose him. Because he wants us to take the reins ourselves. He wants us to make the decision. Hey, 1 second. I have to make the decision that God is waiting for me to defy myself and to do what's right. And what is myself? The desire to live, the desire to be successful, the desire to be, right? Living is good, being successful is good, but not on the world's terms, not on Haman's terms. Elisha Nikra Melech, God is called the king. Belashin Stima, it's just concealed. Mishum she'enu yodea mihu, you don't know who the king is, so to speak. The essence of God is above any names. That's the essence of God. You can say, what do you mean? We know what God is. God makes the sun rise. He gives life to everybody. No, that's only the names of God. That's external. What's the essence of God? What's the essence of God? Right? The essence of God. The essence of God is the Jewish people. That's what the essence is. It's above even the Torah. The Jewish people. The Jewish people. And the Jewish people, they're the ones that God is waiting for the Jewish people to decide to serve him. And it could be that even only one Jew, like Mordechai, if that's good enough, could be. The Lubavitcher Rebbe says it's not, it could be sufficient, but nevertheless, God wants every Jew to come to their own senses. That's called doing tshuva, returning to your Jewish senses. That's called Esther. Shehu inyan Hester panim. That's Esther is concealment of God. Or this is what's called a light of God. It says that it's the infinite light of God, but it says Esther was really ugly. It says in the Talmud in Megillah that her name was Esther, her name was Hadassah. That was another name, Hadassah. Hadassah means like a hyssop. It says one reason because she was green. She was really very ugly. But she had a chut shel chesed. For some reason, people liked how she looked. Achashverosh went wild. He had all the girls in the whole kingdom, all the Persian girls in the kingdom. I mean, I imagine there's a lot of beautiful women over there. And for some reason, it says that the Esther, he liked her better than all the other women. Right? The whole thing didn't make any sense. It says the sense that it made is that Achashverosh is talking about God, and that the chesed was that he realized that in Esther was this string of Judaism, of self-sacrifice for the king. That's what it means. Esther noset chen be'enei kol ro'eh. That's what it says, that Esther found favor in the eyes of everyone who saw her. Like it says, Esther yurak rakos, even though that it says in the Talmud that Esther was really green. She was really ugly. The same thing, the Jewish people, they could be really ugly. They do all sorts of terrible sins, and they're sitting in these places, high places in government, and stealing money and doing all this crazy stuff. What they're doing, right? And they're supporting the enemy, and they're supporting this in Israel. They hate the religious people. They hate the Sephardic people. They hate all the Jews. Nevertheless, they're Jews, and as ugly as they could be, but they're Jews. And a Jew has this little strand of certainty inside of him that there's nothing other than God. And if you trust in God, somehow or other, it's going to be okay, even though according to all of the odds are against you. But the odds have been against us already for thousands of years since Abraham. The odds have been against us. And there's always been a few stubborn Jews that said, I'm not going to do what the world says. I'm not going to do what's popular. I'm going to do what is true, what God wants. And that has always been inspired by the leader of the generation, by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in our generations and previous generations. There was the Rambam, there was the Or HaChaim. Every generation had its leaders that made the Jewish people crazy or tried to. And that's the whole thing of Purim. On Purim, everyone became crazy for God. And they didn't care about anything in the creation, not time, not space, not life, not family, not anything, because God is creating all these things. So let's make a reset. We'll do everything. We'll do what God wants. And then maybe we'll let what God do what he wants, what he really wants. He wants there to be a good world. That's why he's creating it. So therefore, Purim is the holiday which is good for the Jews, and it's good for the whole entire world. The whole entire world then will feel healthy. The essence of the creator, the soul of the universe, will be revealed in every aspect of the universe. Okay, that is today's lesson. Tomorrow we'll start a new one. You know what? We'll start tomorrow. I'll show what we're going to do tomorrow. Here, let's see. 1 minute. Oh, Shalom David. Yeah. What are we going to do tomorrow? Okay, I'll have to look it up. I did this yesterday, but okay. We'll find tomorrow where to do it. Here, let's go.